Hey, this is Ina Langerman from Violin Live, and in this video we're going to go over how to play that E major chord. To all the violinists watching this, you might remember this chord in Saint-Saens Rondo Cappriccioso and also Paganini's first caprice. That caprice is not in my repertoire at the moment of filming this video. So if you have small hands and a short pinky, you probably know how difficult it is to hit this chord even remotely in tune. Actually, for my hands it's borderline impossible, but I found just one way to make it work for me. Now, of course, all of our hands and anatomies are different from one another, so what I'm going to be sharing in this video may or may not serve you 100%. I'm just going to share what has been really helping me along my journey. And by the way, be smart about trying any of these tips that I'm about to share. We're talking about some serious extensions here, so if you experience pain, any sign of pain, please stop immediately and be responsible, all right? So as I said earlier, this chord is borderline impossible for me to play. Just as a reference, my pinky is 5 centimeters long if I measure from this joint line right here going up, and usually that's not such a big problem for me because proportionally to the ring finger, it still manages to just reach that first line right there. So it's usually not such a big deal. However, the real big problem that I face is this extra small handicap that I have, is that my ring finger has a very small range of motion at that first joint. So you can see this is as much as I can bend it as comparing to the other fingers. You can see I can bend this one just fine and this one, but the ring finger I can only bend it this much and it can't really hyperextend either. So this is as much as it goes. So because of that, it creates trouble when it comes to creating a good extension between the third and fourth fingers, specifically when I have to reach downward. If you are already familiar with how to practice extensions in a healthy way, in a safe way that's going to be sustainable, you already probably know that, and if you don't know, watch this video right over there about left hand extensions. So for those of you who practice extensions, you probably already know that it's always better to reach down instead of up because it's safer for your hand and usually you can reach much further, especially if you have small hands. Now, because of the limited range of motion in that joint, there's one big problem. I cannot reach very far back with the third finger compared to all my other fingers. So I'll just demonstrate on the violin. So if I'm reaching back, so I'll be in third position, for example, and I'm going to reach back from my pinky with each finger. So there's my G. I'll just do it on the A string to demonstrate. If I can reach back with the first finger, pretty good. I can get down to the B flat. Okay, second finger, I can reach pretty far back. And then third finger, however, doing all the things, this is as far back as I can reach back safely. And it looks like I have a decent extension, but remember, we're talking about the E major chord here. And in that chord, we also have the first finger involved. So if I were to try to extend back from the pinky with the third finger and also keep the first finger down at the same time, that becomes a problem because now having that first finger down creates this extra contact with the instrument. And also, if this bent just a little bit more, it might have made it that much easier. You know, every little millimeter makes a big difference in violin playing. It's pretty impressive how small things make such a big difference. So because of what I just demonstrated, the problem that I always encountered with that E major chord is that I can easily reach down from the E to that B in first position. That's fine. But then if I did that, I would have trouble getting that G sharp in tune. And then if I play this third, G sharp and B, I would have trouble reaching up and getting that E in tune. So as you can see, I would always get 2 out of 3. So it would be very difficult to hit all 3 notes. And if I just barely managed to get that G sharp and E on their own in tune, then as you can see, my first finger is just not even close to where it's supposed to be. It's going to be very hard to put it down. So if you have a similar problem, here are 3 things that have really helped me. Number 1, this has been the most important one for me to be more consistent with this chord, which of course I'm still working on, and that is to use your third finger as an anchor. In order to do that, you want to actually place it in a very strange angle. You want to place it, instead of normally like this, you're going to place it sideways, as sideways as you possibly can. Of course, I cannot get it perfectly sideways like this. It's almost like you're going to place it wrong, you know, not the way you learned when you learned how to play the violin. So if I place it as sideways as I can, I'm even imagining that I'm aiming for this corner over here. It's not the corner I normally would aim for my hands. Angling it this way, what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to extend both ways, both up and down more. As you can see, what this chord really is, it's a combination of a downward and an upward extension. So it's really a double extension, which is what makes it really challenging. So once you get that third finger in that strange position, now I can reach up better to the E. And then I can also reach down to the B. And what I will have to do is I would have to try to aim for both of those simultaneously. You know, if I try to do one and then the other, chances are I'm going to encounter the same problem again. So I'm going to really anchor that third finger and go at the same time to both notes. There we go. Okay, so let's do it one more time. So relax your hand, find your third finger sideways, and then go with both fingers. Boom. Tip number 2 is to get the knuckles of your hand as parallel to the neck as you can. For small hands, the knuckles have to be closer to the neck. And the real challenge is that at the same time, and this is very tricky, is to try to make as little contact on the side of the neck as possible. You know, like the base of your first finger. You have to make some contact, but you want to limit how much contact you're really making, because the less contact you make, the more you're going to be able to extend. What we did with the third finger, in order for me to angle it as I demonstrated earlier, if I take my knuckles and really just adjust them, so that means I'll be rotating my hand more. And of course, very important that make sure your wrist is straight as you are doing it, so you're not doing some weird thing like this, because this is very dangerous. This is going to get you injured if you do something like this. I see this in students a lot, so make sure your wrist is nice and straight. You can even use the bow to check for that. All right, so we're getting those knuckles really parallel as much as possible like this, and you're going to put the thumb pretty much under the instrument. And tip number 3, this is something I would never normally do for a hand frame. We're not in the hand frame, we're doing a double extension here. But I'm gonna get into the chord position, and I want you to just see where I'm putting my thumb, okay? Okay. Check out where my thumb is. I would never, ever normally put it across from the third finger. But that's the best position for it, for this chord. So, you might try this and think, okay, that's great, it makes sense. However, how do I apply this in context in a piece? You have to get into this chord and get out of this chord within the repertoire, right? How do I make sense out of this? So applying it in context, it's very tricky. And the most important thing to remember is you have to get your hand into that position in advance. Well, of course, depending on what's happening in the piece before it. So, of course, Paganini 1, it starts right away with this, so you can take the time and prepare your hand, like we just did. But if you're playing Saint-Saens Rondo Cappriccioso, you have a sequence that leads into it. So in order to get into this position from your normal left hand frame, it takes some strategy and real preparation and real planning. So you want to get into that position 1 or 2 beats ahead of time. So I'll do it slowly so you can see what I do in this example. Go to normally to third position. Now from now on, no more shifting, only extending back. The next one's gonna really get you into position. Right now your hand should be in position. So we're gonna check where the thumb is. Should be somewhere close to being across from 3, which it is. Okay. So I should be able to get there, and the elbow should be over here, and a little contact point with the instrument and keeping a straight wrist. All right. Alright, so thank you very much for watching this video, and if you got anything helpful out of it, let me know your biggest takeaway in the comment section below. And here's a video you might enjoy on how to get into high positions more comfortably with small hands. Also, if you want a summary of my latest blogs and videos, sign up for my bi-monthly newsletter down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I upload every Friday at 11 Eastern. Happy practicing, and I'll see you next time.